are out there. We're, you know, in our homes, kind of hunkered down. The healthcare operators, the healthcare personnel had to go out there and face COVID right on the front lines. So there's many things that you can do to serve the community. I really encourage you to do that. If you have veterans in your family, I talk it over with them. Ask them what their story, what their life was like in the military, and what they got out of it. Ask your veteran dad, your veteran mom, your sister, your brother, your veteran aunts, uncles, grandmother, grandfather. They each have their own story, their own experience, and in some cases they may not want to talk about it, but I think they'll still appreciate your interest. And sometimes when you get them talking about it, sometimes they never quit. And that even might be my experience today, right here, right now. Mr. Grantham said that if I went too long, he would have the band start playing golf and do one of those TV award shows. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, the official day, the November 11th, and it's the day that we honor all the people who have served in our military in one way or another. You know, the common expression, the common thing that you say to veterans now, I've heard it many times, and I'm sure you guys have too here. Thank you for your service. And I say to these people, thank you for your service. I know you all served in many different ways. And before I go, I almost feel like this is the most important part of the notes I put together to talk about this morning. And that is that behind every veteran is a family who is also serving. They're also sacrificing. They're also giving a lot. I guess I would just end by saying thank you to all the veterans for their service. Again, I'm really humbled to talk to you today about my experience, but I took away a lot from it. And I think these people here probably have similar experiences where they took away a lot from it. Many veterans sacrifice a great deal for that service in many, many different ways, whether it be physically or mentally, and you know, they need all the support that all of us can give to them, and that's also very, very important. So thank you all very much.
Mr. John brought up a point that we will talk to him further, but first, we have the jazz band going to play some blues and hospital. one thing that I noticed in our writings, we had a couple of students that had some very personal writings, and I wanted them to share with you because though we're celebrating the positive life, we also have to remember that sometimes Veterans Day also is a solemn occasion, and we will talk about more of that here in a minute, but these two are going to share some personal writings that I thought we all needed to hear, and kind of goes along with our guest speakers talking about how the families are impacted by this. But also remember, being this age and sharing something personal in front of a crowd is very, very difficult. So let's have some grace here as we call up Duncan and Emily. Come on up, guys.
Out the door. He had tears of joy. His mother had tears of joy. Then tears of sorrow. Before he walked out the door, he hugged his little sister. He squeezed his middle sister's hand. He cried on his older sister. He patted his little brother on the back. He waved to his stepbrother. He smiled at friends. Told his father to stay safe. Told his stepmother not to cry. He walked out the door. You could hear the vehicle start up. You could hear the person at him. You could yelling at him as he left.
I was not expecting it to be this much.
I love you and everything you do, as a father and as a parent, as a person. I feel proud to be your son. I feel honored to be your son. All that you do for our country and for us, I know you don't feel like you deserve it, but I do love you.
I knew that was coming, but somebody think about people here today. Mr. Well, first of all, give him a round of applause. Good, well done. Okay. Nicely done. Wildcat crowds, give them a round of applause. And our shout out to Miss Me and our jazz band, our 8th grade band. Let's give them a shout out there. Shout out to Mr. Britton for helping us set up. Sam, we couldn't have done that without her. Shout out to all my teachers who came here today and helped us support this thing. Some were a little skeptical that, hey, we're giving them time to educate. We also understand that there's other things that we need to learn other than reading and writing. Also, my office staff who has their whole job is to help me organize, stay on task, find my glasses, find my keys. It's a lifetime of pain and suffering from them, but it helps me get through 17 years I've been administrator of this building. Some of my greatest moments have been here. For 12 years we've done this, and we'll continue to do it as long as I'm here, and hopefully after I'm gone. I'd like to say one thing before we leave. Service, I served from 85 to 91, and you come back from service, I I think in three ways. Well, two, and then one, you don't come back. You come back in a positive way. For me, my service was positive. Though it was difficult at times on a fast-tech submarine out of San Diego, we did have some issues in the Sea of Japan with Russia, though we were in peacetime, supposedly. Submarines were never in peacetime. We were always on station and ready to go. Where World War III was right around the bend every moment of our day, we thought. Our job was to follow the Russian submarines that shot big ballistic nuclear missiles, follow them, and if World War III started, we were to shoot them down, never thinking, hey, what if we do that? Then what? What do we do after that? Because there's probably not going to be anything left when we get back to port. That was our job. We never thought much about that. Though when I did start doing that, tracking Russian submarines, I got a little concerned because several times we tracked a whale, a school of fish, our own self. We did a couple of days we tracked ourselves. So that was very concerning about the efficacy of the USS Taro. Though we were a great ship, sub, sorry I said ship, I get kicked out of sub force now. We were a great sub, we were called boats. A great boat, and I still keep in touch with one of my guys 4 years later. We just had our 50th anniversary last spring. So that was a wonderful time. So I was a person who dropped out of college after 3.5 years from school, genius, didn't like school in the first place. I was from the generation of really, people didn't go to college back then. You went out and got a job or you went to the military. I decided to go into college for 3.5 years, then quit, then go in as an enlisted guy instead of an officer. That was a genius plan. One of many genius plans I've had since. Probably a big mistake for me was getting out of the military because I needed somebody to tell me what to do all the time, much like my office staff constantly tells me what I need to do all the time. And I'm pretty sure they're asking, what are you getting paid for? I ask myself that every day. Why? I'm getting paid to have fun. That's great, being a military principal. All right, guys, hanging out with you guys every day is one of the greatest gifts I've ever had. I know when you ask for test motion, you guys are probably really struggling with that, because I know you guys do, but you'll be okay. All right? Unfortunately, there's other ways coming back from the military that aren't so positive. One of my friends, Big Tony, on the boat, he came back all right, but unfortunately, all the stories and all the talk about the military, his son joined in 2011. His son did not come back from Iraq. His son died in an IED explosion outside of Baghdad. Did not come back. And so there is major sacrifices, oftentimes very clearly given at that moment. His life has never been the same, obviously. Okay, as we go forward and he proceeds through his life, I keep in touch with him. We were rivals on the submarine a little bit. Big Tony and I were kind of the bigger guys on the sub. You can't really be real big on a submarine. If you're over 6 feet tall, you're going to get stitches in your head at least once, if not twice, running through the little bulkheads. All right? Me and Tony were on opposite sides of frame 57. I don't have time to explain what frame 57 means. It's a technical term. I can discuss it later with drawings and graphs. But basically, if you're on this side of frame 57, you're a coner. If you're on this side of frame 57, you're a dude. And we did not get along for whatever stupid reason that we had in the military. You have a lot of those rivalries. And Big Tony and I kind of had a rivalry because he was big, I was bigger back then, not here, but more up here. All right? And so when you have two guys that are kind of big, sooner or later you're going to get into some trouble. And we did one day because we had an argument about the trash, which is a very good reason to fight somebody. We got in a fight in the mess hall. And Big Tony was a guy, he was about 5'9" square. All right? He was one of those guys. He wasn't real tall, but he was as wide as he was big. Huge guy. Big hands, like he could put his hand over your head and crush skulls with that, like something out of an old medieval knight story. And Big Tony and I got in a fight over something, I don't remember, it was the trash, if it was in the way, it wasn't in the way. And the next thing you know, we're Fifth City in the mess hall, which, if you know anything about submarines, there's not a lot of room. No one's going to get hurt. You're going to be just kind of smashed into each other, and then guys jump on and try to break it up. It's really, you're all just kind of jam-packed in a pile of stupidity. Which there was a lot of that in the Navy. I'm sure some of the Navy people would agree with that. But Big Tony, 20, 30 years later, when I'm sitting with him, I haven't seen him in 30 years last year, and I met with him. I did not know his son had passed away at that time. And we talked for many hours. He invited me back to his place. I was the only one that got to go, and I saw him break down in that moment. So someone will still come back. The sacrifice is real. And right now, we're raising money for the Veterans Community Project. Bill's tiny house is up by Truce. All right, if you go down Bannister and take a right on Truce, 87 Truce, you'll find these little houses sitting up there. And those are for homeless veterans. And we're trying to raise money for that. And so I give the kids a lot of crap when they're not giving. And some of them think it's funny. Hilarious that they're not giving. That's called 8th grade. All right? You don't know what to do with those feelings, emotions. You don't know how to behave appropriately because you haven't been taught yet. You haven't been taught about sacrifice. You haven't been taught about giving it all. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to raise $1,000 for the Veterans Community Project. We're halfway there. These guys have been doing a great job for the most part. We can do better. So it'll be about 25 from each of us to get to that 1,000. We can do that, okay? But some of us don't come back, and the sacrifice is all. We have to remember that as we go forward. You guys, 7,000 soldiers, airmen, airwomen, servicemen, servicewomen have died in the Iraq-Afghanistan war. 31,000 have committed suicide since then. We had a guest speaker in here recently. His whole job was to help soldiers, airmen, airwomen, servicemen, servicewomen deal with that. It is lonely. It is difficult. It is tough coming back from being a veteran. Everyone has experienced that. Every one of us here on this floor has experienced coming back and not feeling like you fit in again. If you've gone from military life to civilian life in any way, shape, or form, it is difficult. What do you say? Absolutely. Okay? So keep that in mind. You guys, your generation, the country's on your shoulders. The veterans that we need to support will be on your shoulders. You guys are 4 years away from being adults. You 8th graders. 4 years away. You're 3 years away from being able to serve in the military. It's not that far away. Big Tony's son was only 19 years old. 19. And he didn't get to come back home. Keep that in mind as you're growing up. Keep that in mind. Like Mr. Stanley said, what do you want to do with your life? If you're not sure, I'd say the military is a good place for you. All right? Thank you so much for coming today. You guys did a great job. Before we leave, we have to try to cover it. We have to visit task. Stand for the retirement colors. Attached to remember the fallen members. Thank you so much. Our guests, we have cookies and punch right outside here. Also, if you'd like to give to the Veterans Community Project fundraiser, you can do that as well. I'd like to also give another round of applause for our middle school poetry winners, our SMIs, and our choir. Also, you guys up there as well, you guys did a super job. Your behavior is excellent. We're going to head back to your first hour. We're gonna get back there, we'll hit the second hour here. We're gonna go from the top down. So you guys over here, go top down this way. You guys over here, we'll go